And we're live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. I am he. And let's see. Yep, the old live chat is there. Hello, AI, my little puppy. Oh, so how's it going with you guys? Here it is. I think it's the 20-something of July, and I am the poster boy of self-quarantining, self-distancing, you name it. I'm doing it, and I'm out in the deep green, and it's beautiful, right? And I'm surrounded by water and waterfalls and lakes and stuff like that. And this place is just 10 miles from my house. And if I need to make a phone call, the closest is 13 miles, but it's right on the lake. It's really beautiful. And then Johnson City is almost 40 miles to the west, and Boone is about 28 miles to the south. And that's about it. I am the furthest. I am so far out in the middle of nowhere. The area is the Cherokee National Forest. It's the Cherokee National Forest. It's in West Virginia, Tennessee, and Virginia. So it's a big thing, and there's a lot of towns and stuff in it. So, and where I am is, I'm as crow flies, or if I walk through the woods, the National Forest is like probably a mile and a half from me, less, more, who knows. To drive, it's a little bit of a, because I have to go all the way over here, to go all the way over there, to go all the way down here, when I just live right there. So I said, like, way the bird flies. So I'm doing good. Drive safe, handsome.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Are you the delivery boy? Is that your lunch? Yeah. No, that's good. So just had breakfast. Just kind of peruse the internet to see what's going on. And this guy is always good. The Corbett Report, right? So he's.
And remember way back at the start of the plunge into the real depths of COVID-19 '84 when everybody's favorite celebrity, Tom Hanks, went into self-quarantine because he had tested positive for COVID-19 and correctly modeled to everyone how to self-isolate and how to dutifully comply with the dictates of whatever medical opinion he received.
Why do you think he's so popular?
Tom Hanks is remaining positive. He sent an update on his and his wife Rita Wilson's health after their coronavirus diagnosis. On Thursday, the 63-year-old actor shared a photo on his Instagram of himself and Wilson from quarantine in Australia.
Almost 10 years older
he captioned the photo by first thanking everyone from down under for, quote, taking such good care of us. He says, we have COVID-19 and are in isolation, so we do not spread it to anyone else. He then says, there are those for whom it could lead to a very serious illness, adding, we are taking it one day at a time. He tells his followers, quote, there are things we can all do to get through this by following the advice of experts and taking care of ourselves and each other.
How many experts do we hear?
He also revealed that going forward, they will be tested, observed, and isolated for as long as public health and safety requires.
Extra points if you remember his enigmatic tweet from self-isolation that he was up by 201 points in his game of gin rummy against his wife. And do you remember back in April when the World Health Organization helped organize a gaggle of artists and influencers to put on a benefit concert, the One World Together at Home concert, in order to unite the world behind the message that we must listen to the medical authorities and stay at home?
It's been tough
touted as the largest virtual gathering of major artists and influencers since the Live Aid concert in 1985. The One World Together at Home event showcased the first row of top music stars and celebrities who came together over the weekend for a special.
That's all I got to say. So Jimmy, what did Jimmy have to say? I mean, and you know, we have choice between two doddering old fools. You know, I actually don't think we're going to have a presidential election. You know, and you think any politician is, you know, here's a good one.
November is almost here, but voting during a pandemic could get tricky. That's why we know that Senator Lamar Alexander will do the right thing.
Well, he'll do the right thing. That's right.
This is how they get all of us 99%ers to be complicit in their fucking complete crimes.
Yes.
This is a complete
Tale of two stories. So this is from Walter Bragg. Two stories on the same day. Dow Jones Index breaks 29,000 for the first time, and man robs pharmacy, leaving note telling clerk, "I'm sorry, I have a sick child." You know, it's almost like the Wall Street doesn't really read the real economy. It's almost like that. It's almost like it has nothing to fucking do with the real economy. It's almost like Wall Street isn't just a bunch of 1% millionaires counting each other's money, and where are they getting it from? They're extracting it from people with kids who can't afford their own fucking pharmacy. That's where they're getting it from. As Piketty has pointed out, investment is really extraction, right? Because economies don't grow fast enough to return the investments that people are getting. So where's that money rich people are getting? They're extracting it from the fucking workers. So that's what's happening right now, a massive transfer of wealth to the wealthy. And now we have stories like this. Imagine if Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi saw this headline and they ran out every day when this is an immoral bankruptcy of our culture where people can't have drugs for their kids who are sick. They can't get medicine. Meanwhile, the Dow Jones is higher than it's ever been. I'm going to scream about this until we do something about it. Well, that's never going to fucking happen, right? Wouldn't that be something, though? And then you wonder why Democrats lose. And you wonder why I'm a pariah to the Democratic Party is because I keep reminding them of the shit they're supposed to be doing.
And that's why I like Jimmy.
People who have fucking sick kids who can't.
That's why I like Jimmy. That's why I like Jimmy. So that's where we're at, and so we're kind of, you know, looking at. Come on. There we go. Yeah.
I apologize for not remembering.
You were having a
little, I don't know what.
I mean, this is amazing. Glenn Greenwald caught this. So, you know, MSNBC is full of ex-Bush staffers. So Nicole Wallace hosts a show on the liberal network that was the mouthpiece for war criminal organization is now sufficiently. Anyway, he caught this. He says, "This is one of the most embarrassing interviews I've ever seen. And as horrible as Biden was, Nicole Wallace was even worse, treating him with a mix of condescension and reverence, more suited to a family reunion with a fragile uncle than a politician seeking power." Okay, so now I've seen this. This is brutal. On both parts, it's brutal. Because it is like she's interviewing her grandpa on Father's Day as a feel-good segment, not trying to grill the next president of the United States during a crisis. During the biggest crisis of my life, I would say this is it.
Well, Jimmy, you don't know history too well.
Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know, Donald Trump was asked that.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I probably best I don't. I just can't figure
Like it's better.
It's like, I don't know, it's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask. It's okay. I want to ask you.
Are you telling me that they released this? This was live. This is released that they do this live. Unbelievable.
I'm pretty sure they do this show live. Like we're doing it right now, baby. You want to see that again? Because I do watch.
Yes.
Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know, Donald Trump was asked.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I probably best I don't. I just can't figure the guy. It's like, I don't know, it's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask. It's okay. I want to ask you.
That.
And that guy's going to be our president.
Yeah, it's like.
Missy, what kind of pies you got there?
Chocolate and coconut.
Can I have a coconut slice?
Yeah, be just a minute.
Yeah, no problem, baby. I mean, like I said, most people don't know the history, you know. And where we're heading is kind of like the Dark Ages with television, right? And people think we're at the level of, oh, we're the most sophisticated. Look, I got a car. It runs on gasoline. You know, no. If you guys have ever seen a TV show called Stargate, pretty much that's it. Go watch the original Star Trek with Jim and Spock and Uhura. And, you know, they've got the flip phone, you know. They have, the gizmo that makes them their lunch. Well, that's freaking, 3D printing. They've had this stuff forever. Carrion technology is probably a million years ahead of where we are right today. We're in the Stone Age, and we're being kept here. And oh, thank you, Princess. You're the best. Could I have some more coffee?
Ain't got no more.
Okay. Thank you. Some napkins.
Okay.
Hey, Ride. Haven't heard from you in a long time.
Take that back. I got maybe a swaller.
A swaller.
A swaller.
That's all I need.
A swaller.
I like that. Could you also bring a styrofoam cup of just hot water?
Yeah.
That I know he won't run it. Swaller. That girl can cook, bake. She doesn't buy them. Likewise, she actually bakes it. You know, Miss, you're doing a great job here. You're being stretched like a rubber band, right?
Yeah, what's about it?
You need to just.
It don't bother me.
No, but it because you're strong like bull, but it still would be good every.
Well, I get out here and I go home, get my garden, get my canner out, and I start canning food and putting it on the shelf, and they're just like, yeah.
That's your meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got beans yesterday. I picked all my beans, got ready. I
Oh, you did?
Can them this evening. I've got enough to put up 2 cannons.
When did you put your garden in?
Probably about the middle of May.
And everything's coming up that quick.
Yeah. I've done fixed up. I think it's 29 jars of squash relish.
Holy moly!
I
Are you
put up-
gonna put them?
No, I can't sell it over here.
Oh,
Squash relish, and I fixed 20 bites of squash patties to put in the freezer.
Ooh.
And let's see, I'm fixing my beans this evening. And yet, when I was off Monday, I canned sausage. I went to the can house or to the butcher shop and got me a bunch of fresh sausage. They were grinding sausage. I went and bought fresh sausage and
Did
canned
you?
it.
You can't. You didn't get it sausage. You got it just raw.
No, they mix it. They have it ready for you to pick up. They sold it for $2.75 a pound.
Wow.
And I bought 20 pounds and canned it. I had 20 jars of it. And
so, do you have to keep the varmint away from your garden?
So far, it ain't been too bad. I've had a couple of deers, but nothing because the dog is down there right below it where we keep our dogs. So.
Right. Do you have issues with raccoons in your garden?
Mm-hmm. No, it's mainly deer.
Because I have raccoons that are like gangsters.
No,
they walk right in front of me and go, "Who you looking at?"
Mm-hmm. But so far, and I got carrots. I'll have to start pulling carrots in the next week or two and start canning them.
Oh, I'd love a taste of some of your stuff. Especially the squash. Your
squash relish, that's my favorite. I'd rather have it than the cucumber.
Yeah, me too.
I mix up both kinds of squash and I'll put a little bit of banana peppers in it and the green peppers and a little bit of cabbage and boil it up real good. Do
you grow your own cabbage?
Mm-hmm.
How big a garden would you say? Half an acre, quarter acre?
Not as big as this or big. And then I got neighbors who bring stuff over. It's extra, and we swap around. And
do you have a fence around it?
No.
So you don't do anything. Huh.
It's right out front of the house.
Oh, and the dogs keep the varmint away. Yeah, see, I need a dog.
I usually put up between 200 and 300 jars of stuff a year.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like going buying stuff. I know where my stuff.
Yeah, it comes from. Yeah.
I got 2 freezers, and I keep I go to the butcher shop.
Where's the butcher shop?
In Carter County. Or like, when you go down where Food City's at, go straight, like, and you get up on your city where it says go to Shady.
Yeah.
And it's up at the foot of Shady Mountain. It's called H&H Butcher Shop.
Oh.
And they
So in Mountain?
It's Carter County.
Oh, over there. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
But it's like going towards Shady to the mountain.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So that's the neighborhood. Take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. That's right. That's all we got. I mean, that's really our day-to-day job, right? And prayer is good, but actions are better, huh? So prayer gives you good thoughts, which bring good words, which bring good actions, which give good deeds, which bring good outcomes. Right? It'll come from your thoughts, which are prayers, right? And that's why, I used to teach the Course in Miracles, which is a very good text, good book. Good. You want to look at it, and and once I started doing it, and I did it in New York in the 70s, and I got I had really good rep. And I worked at Fort Hamilton. The guy who ran the place, the colonel, and sent me off to study with all kinds of alternative healers. And that's what I did, for him. I was his alternative healer, meditation, acupuncture, herbs, and they did all the rest. I was doing that. How we got guys off heroin? With a point in your ear. Put an earring there. Physically lose the want of opiate. Emotionally, different story. And that's why I was sent off to school to become a shrink. Right? And I just went and studied with some really good shrinks in New York that were at NYU and Columbia. And it was like the classic way. I mean, I'm going to lectures, and then I would go hang with them after in their office, and we talked. We'd go to lunch, and they had served with my colonel, and they owed him a lot with their careers. So they were happy to do that. So. And these guys were the real deal rather than people who flash their certificate. And because the colonel ran the whole place, he let me do my thing, like, under the table. I basically kind of looked like a, janitor, but, So out of that, I studied with all these people, and they were all teaching in all kinds of universities and centers like the Swedish Institute in New York, Long Tenoring in New York. And after the colonel was killed, I was let go. And I had still another 3 or 4 years on my contract. And I was called into a jail guy. He said, "Jump, we're going to let you go of your responsibilities." I said, but I'm doing alternative service 6 years, that's what I signed up for. In the last 2.5, I was mostly studying. I'm right now doing a great job over there. And he says, "Well, we know, we really appreciate it." And he slips me an envelope. Right? Look up an envelope, and there's a letter in it with a visual stamp saying, "This guy he has no more responsibility to the federal government. We're cutting him loose." Right? And he did a great job. Thumbs up for this guy. And it was a check. What my salary, I was making about $250 a week. And I also had some other little things in there. And it was a check for the rest of the 4 years if I had this work. It was like a check for 15 grand or 18 grand, something. Send your consciousness, free will through love's co-creation. That's right, Ride. Keep it up, buddy. That is the way to do it. Good thoughts, prayers, Father, Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit. Father Sky, Mother Sky up in the air, in the universe, past the stars, that's Father Sky. Right? And this is the Trinity. And Jesus talks about Mother Earth. Mother Earth, that's where we ground our chi. And unless you are in balance, right, with Father Sky, you're just like, a bag of water bouncing around. The bridge between the subconscious and superconscious is the ego. Actually, it's the it. Your ego is, it's just a file cabinet, and that file cabinet is connected to your avatar biologically. And that's the fight and flight syndrome, right? That was hardwired in, right? And then as we thought we were maturing, all we were doing was letting ourselves be controlled by our hormones. And then when Big Pharma took over and gave us drugs to do that, it's like, wow. So the id is that unknown character, right? It is the doorway, right? So that's the bridge, right? It's the bridge into your superconscious mind, where God lives inside of you. And that is the Holy Spirit. We are all our relations make up the Holy Spirit in love's co-creation. So the ego, if you want to know where it resides, or you can, first of all, you got to realize that ego is a construct. It doesn't really exist. And your subconscious mind, right, where your Akashic record is, that's your ego, right? And you see it most relevantly when you go into the state and you illuminate yourself with the prana from Father Sky through your breath, and you expel all the toxins out into, your grounding by breathing out. and putting your feet firmly on the ground, you ground. And the prana goes into your lung, gets metabolized. So instead of you being a incandescent character, meaning that's what your body is kind of made up of, basically, artificial light, like you think an incandescent light bulb, that's what your avatar is, right? Your soul is this photonic light, has no shadows. Incandescent light leaves shadows, that's a shadow. But if there was photonic light, there'd be no, because it goes everywhere, right? So when you're breathing in the photonic of Father Sky, it gets metabolized into prana. As soon as you breathe it in, goes into your lung sacs, or those little cilia. If you don't want to be sick, visualize the prana going into your lungs. And the blood goes through your lungs and does that exchange of expelling the waste product, the carbon dioxide and everything else. And carbon dioxide is just the carrier of the waste product. It's not the waste product. Like, oh, global warming, waste product. No, you don't like carbon in your environment. Well, we can stop cutting down rainforests. Stop going up. Why is the permafrost melting in Canada and the poles? Because we're sending guys up there in these big trailers to dig up for oil. I mean, the Russians have these snow cats that are, it's like a moving house with treads, right? It's got the laboratory, the place to sleep and eat, and it goes up there, and so it makes, this 100-ton vehicle with these gigantic treads, 20 feet wide, 100 feet long, and move very slow, and it crushes everything down. So all the snow and ice gets crushed down to the permafrost, and now the permafrost is not being insulated from the solar energy, which is really intense up there. But because the snow and the ice is white and reflective, it would mostly go out back into space. Not now. It goes straight into the ground, really deep. It starts not just melting where that tread is, but of course, permafrost is interconnected. Right? Just like I did a show way back talking about the internet of the forest, right? Because there was a place at the school, the road brought up, D6 just kind of cut its way up to the school. So, it was a forest, and then cut through it. So there are places where there's 4 feet of where, the forest was, and you could see all of the roots and stuff, and you could see all the paramala, the fungi, interconnected, right? Look like telephone lines, right? Yep, wisdom of the overself. Yep. And that's why overstanding is more important than understanding, because overstanding is seeing the perspective from up top of the mountain instead of understanding when you're down in the valley, you can't see anything, and you get stepped on. When you're understanding things, you're under it. So when you're overing it, you're kind of seeing it from above, and it's not like you're an elitist, because elitists don't lick the bowl. Man, this stuff is so good, you lick the bowl. So, so right, tell me something. How you, and put it in a more real term rather than paraphrasing me. And I'm just paraphrasing somebody else when I talk about this. Oh, it's a delivery guy.
Hello?
Say Santa Claus.
Yeah. I'm undercover.
Except we have to pay for it.
That's right.
So I see this as a great opportunity. Great opportunity. You know? Let's see. There is nothing new under the sun. That's true. That's right. And see, what it's all about, what a ride just tells us here, is that it's not about, breaking, like all these guys in Silicon Valley. Oh, they're so smart, they invented all this stuff. No. The powers, that shouldn't be, the hidden hand, the high table, came to them. They all went to grammar schools that they picked out the smart kids that they could manipulate and use as a poster boy. Steve Jobs, totally. Mr. Bill Gates, Mr. Facebook, Mr. Twitter. I mean, they're all related to each other. And they're all either really rich or, want to be really rich. That's Steve Jobs. But he came from a family that was all about motivation, and he went to a school where they picked he's our guy. And all, go read the book Day After Roswell by Colonel Philip Corso. And he was just an average Joe, and he was in World War II, and he was part of this crew that was looking at foreign technology. And then when the ships came down, he was kind of right there, and that was kind of his job. And so he, there's a guy, General Tillard, or it starts with a T, so everything was orchestrated, meaning the thing saying, oh, a flying saucer crashed, near our Air Force base. That was the first thing that went around the world. And it was also, a few weeks or months after, what's his name, saw the half moon flying objects. And they weren't like teacups, they were half moon. They were very similar to the Nazi Horton 9, which was a wing aircraft, just like the B-1 bomber. That's kind of where they got the idea. Actually, from Jack Norton. Jack Norton made the B-1 bomber back in 1948 and perfected it by 1953. And, it had a zero radar reflection. It was jet powered. It could fly almost the speed of sound. It was super efficient. It could go to Russia and back on one tank of gas. And it could carry more than a B-36, which was a gigantic, target, because it had a tail, 40 feet high. I mean, it was just a radar reflector, hit me. And the people in the Air Force who were bought off by the people who ran the corporations that were making their airplanes, they all said they had to fly it off, and the Jack Norton's Northrop's flying wing won by astronomical amounts, and all the generals were happy. And then their moneyed bosses said, no, we don't want this airplane. We want to keep building crappy stuff, so it has to be replaced. And every time they build a plane, the F-15, F-16, A-10, those three planes are perfect. It could last forever. And the A-10 and F-16 were designed to be really great at what it does, and that's all what it does, and be very cheap and very easy to manufacture and very simple to keep going, right? So then we replaced it with the F-36, the biggest. It cost almost $250 million a piece, and it doesn't even fly. Like the F-24, which replaced the F-22, was so bad they made a bunch of them, but they never flew because they couldn't fly in the rain. F-22 was another aircraft that was excellent, and they should have just mass-produced the heck out of those. But they not only stopped mass-producing them, all of the jigs, all the things that you need to make an aircraft, they destroyed. Like the Saturn V, thing that could put 100,000 tons of stuff in orbit, at the cost of $100 a ton, right? And they were popping those things out in Huntsville like sausages. And at a certain point, Nixon got in power. The boys walked on the moon a few times, and they had in the pipeline another 6 landings already paid for, and they just stopped it. Oh, we're going to have this thing called the shuttle, which stuck us in low Earth orbit and was deadly. And the Air Force and Army, back in the day when it wasn't even the Air Force, just the Army Air Corps, they had built that thing in the late 40s. They were going to use, Russia was just getting a basketball in space, and we were going to put that thing, right? And we were going to go to the moon because the Nazis had it, right? And all our scientists were Nazis. So, as Ride says, there's nothing new under the sun, Genuine new experience occurs with co-creation. That's right, and that's what it's about. So, why God has us here, or I call love, is that it wants to co-create, wants to have fun, right? And God is like a little girl with pigtails, skipping rope, and it's tired of skipping rope all by itself and wants to do double dutch, and that's what we're here to do. So we're here to have joy in our life, not misery. And the powers that shouldn't be, their main job is to put us in misery. And look at this, thing that's going on, Black Lives Matter and the pandemic. Both those things have been going on for a while. And a black person is you and me. Now, I keep saying that I'm African American, that's melanin challenged. And that's because, I grew up in Harlem, I saw that, but I realized that Harlem wasn't all black people. It was everybody. It was like a salad bowl. It wasn't the melting pot of Velveeta cheese. No, it was every 3 blocks, the Polish, the Lithuanian, the Greeks, the, Turks, you name it, they just kept up 2nd Avenue every 2 blocks, and different smells. And all those different public schools, they spoke all these different languages. And they didn't, you got to speak English. Well, by the next generation, yes, everybody was speaking English. But, when Mom and Pop and Grandma came over on the boat, they were not. I think I might take a few of your boxes. Have at it, right?
At least I had to worry about doing something.
That's right, exactly. So, as Ride says, same as it ever was, right? So, we're not even in the second wave of this. This is the pandemic is definitely a biological weapon, right? But it wasn't just made by China. It initiated in Harvard. There was a materials handling PhD chemist whose whole thing was nanotechnology. And a virus is not a living thing. It's just a string of chemicals, right? And it gets into you. It creates a response of your body. And once your body responds, it gets in, right? And then our body does the biological work of cranking it out over and over and over until we're dead, or until we make antibodies that kick it out. So this thing has been designed because this is like SARS-2, right? SARS-1 did the same thing, had the same kind of response, did everything this, came from China, happened in the same neck of the woods, but it was so virulent, it killed you like that. So the virus itself, SARS didn't last more than a few weeks because it couldn't even get on an airplane. The person would get it, and got it in the afternoon, and by the time they went home, they died. And it wasn't that easily spread, right? So it wasn't that easily spread, but super virulent, killed you immediately. So that was SARS-1, right? So South Asian Respiratory Syndrome, right? SARS. And so this is SARS-2. So it's designed to be spread amazing because its backbone is a nano chemical, right? So all of the other chunks of it are put on this bag. And so forget sneezing or talking even. Those particles are like, they're not nano. I mean, that you can see them. You can almost see them in the air with your eye. Whereas this stuff is nano, so small you can't see it. So it goes. That's why they said, "Oh, masks aren't. You got to wear a spacesuit." And those guys in the hospital wearing spacesuits, basically. And so the mask does a good thing of like cutting down the spread, because instead of just having it gives it a dynamic, right? But if you're outside and you're getting hit by ultraviolet, it's relatively sensitive, right? So and if you look at the numbers, this is kind of like a bad flu. So everything that Donald Trump was saying, that's why I love Donald Trump. He lies so much, he goes 180 degrees, and it's the truth. So you can really see what's going on by what Donnie says when he's lying, But he goes, when Rudy J lost his marbles, on Fox going on about how there is no truth, he's right. It's all lies, So.
Let's see. Now tomorrow.
So,
they called already. Yeah, I know.
So you guys made that stuff?
Sir?
You guys made that stuff?
No. We usually buy one when we come.
Oh! I thought you were the manufacturer.
We build both docks.
Oh, well, that's a challenge. If I could see, I can see the steering wheel, but I can't read it.
Oh yeah.
Was that you in the truck with the boat dock on the plat? Yeah, about an hour ago. That was you guys. Where'd you guys put that, or putting it?
In the harbor.
On this side?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before the bridge or after the bridge?
No, it's going right here.
Oh, okay. And then go in there, right? So, you're talking about the gated community. Yeah. Where the people who think they're rich live. You got it. Anyway. So, oops. Nope. See, it was so simple. I just hit a button and it almost erased everything. It's like I have no idea what I'm doing. So 43 minutes. It's 11:11. Another synchronistic moment. So joy is really the thing. So here I am. Since January. Well, yeah, pretty much since January. I've been living in the woods now. Thanksgiving, a friend of mine in West Virginia, he and his wife wanted to go visit their kids in Las Vegas. So he said, "Can you come and take care of the farm, take care of the animals while we're going for, we're coming back after New Year's, right?" So I said, "Sure, yeah." He said, "Yeah, we got plenty of food in the freezer, and I'll leave you some money, and I'll give you everything you need." And I said, "Sure, yeah." They have a nice house, heat, swimming pool, indoor. I mean, nice. So, and that's like my grandma said, to live like a millionaire, but don't be one, right? So I went there and spent from Thanksgiving, and they had a bunch of turkeys, so I cooked them all up and already made meals, right, in styrofoam things, and just drove around. And when I saw the guy, I would say, "Here's a dinner." And they'd open it up, and there'd be turkey and stuffing and vegetables. And here, you need another one, right? You got a friend? Here's another one. I made about 100 of those, right? And just drove around. Whereas at the mission, they gave you a bologna sandwich for Thanksgiving. I went by them and got online. It was online. I said, "What's for Thanksgiving dinner?" They got stuffing in the works. Oh no, same thing. Woody sandwich. And that's that's not co-creation, and that's run by Christians, right? Let's see. It's your neighborhood friendly. Yeah, every neighborhood I go to is friendly. Every friend, I live in ghettos in big cities. I live in the most rural, but they're poor. But pretty much everywhere I go. So this place is really poor people and really rich people. And the rich people don't live here. They just come in. There's a guy who has a $20 million house right on the lake. And he's never there. I mean, the best thing about him is that he hires about 20 different people to mow the lawn and keep the place up so it looks nice. But me, my little deep green, I don't cut anything. I don't do anything. You heard Missy talking about her garden. My garden is pathetic. I mean, this is the first year back, but the friggin' she's got animals to protect them, and I couldn't even take care of the animals. I can barely take care of myself. And so back in the day when I had a nice garden, I did have 2 dogs that were really good taking care of things. And so I have I have to negotiate with the raccoons. And they used to wreck the place every night. Now they're not doing that. Now they just kind of knock one thing over, or, they can smell. I don't know why they like vitamins, but they go gaga for vitamins. So I don't have any vitamins out for them. Because, I don't have a house. I have no place to store things, So, anyway. So this place every place I go, where, hey, is your neighborhood friendly CJ? What's CJ? Christian Jews? Well, everyone says they're Christian here, but not everyone acts that way. But everyone's my friend, right? So that's how it goes. So I'm, every neighborhood I live in is friendly, Now that may not be as friendly to everybody, but it's friendly to me because I'm friendly to it. And that's pretty much all you got to do, And in the really urban, up until 2 years ago, when I was still at the school with the Canary, I'd never, I would spend the mornings, I make him breakfast, and then I would, run his, chores for him, picking up stuff at the post office, blah, blah, blah. Okay. A new hydrogen collider, bigger. Oh yeah, that's just what they need, a bigger hydrogen collider. When are they doing this? CJ is a good bro. CJ, did you ever see any of the videos? Do you ever go to the hydrogen collider's website, CERN's website? That thing is the most satanic thing they have. Well, every time they build a building or do an experiment, they do a ceremonial sacrifice. And they have Vestal virgins. I mean, they have on, working. They're getting a 1095 Vestal virgins. So squirrely notions. Okay, that's who you squirrely notions. So, like I said, CJ, but look, around your neighborhood, the only white guy, poor guy, black guy, Hispanic guy, all rolled up in one big taco, me. And, I could be annoying, which I am because I don't shut up about the things I see. I just kind of, let them have it. And, so, Yeah. Oh man. So what do you guys want to talk about? So hydrogen cloud, so all those things that is like a Stargate, It's they punch holes into other dimensions and go in there. And did any of you ever watch a TV show by J.J. Abrams called Fringe? And he had done Lost beforehand. Yeah. Ceremonial magic. Yep. Opening ceremony. Satanic. Yep. Yep. Pretty. And no one even blinks. The EU is paying for that along with a ton of other countries, and no one even blinks, which is a dead giveaway that we don't live in on a planet made up of nation states. We are totally owned by a corporate subsidiary. Fringe, good show. Right? Are they Squirrely? Is that? Can you still watch that somewhere, some platform? And that was, done in the early O's, and it really was talking about what was going on now. Because Walter, who is the big brain, but basically almost shot himself in the head because he couldn't stop thinking about things that were going to destroy. He'd invent something that would be really good. He was like the Tesla of his time, but not just electricity. This guy could do anything, biochemistry, physics, you name it, he could do it. And so he kept stumbling onto things, and his best friend and partner was a businessman who was, basically Spock. And he would sell the stuff to Defense Department, So the thing about J.J. Abrams, he is like the next in line from Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, George Lucas were tapped on the shoulder just like Bill Gates was, saying, "Okay, here we want you to tell that you're good storytellers. We want you to tell the story." Stephen King, he just does what he does. He's a great storyteller, great writer, great film script guy. He's amazing, but he's not, and he knows the story, but he's not the guy, on the payroll of the hidden hand. He knows about it. He writes about it. They let him do it because it's just the same reason why they let me do all the stuff I did over the years. It on the surface helps them out, and on the bottom end of it, it helps them out. They know they need every so often they have to rebrand, and that's what they're doing right now. We're going to have one heck of a friggin' winter, and it's going to be straight out of Monty Python. Bring out your dead, bring out your dead. But it won't be any worse than the worst flu season that we had. But on TV, it's going to look right because all the rest of the country, yes, it's a virus and it is affecting people, and yes, it's doing it. But you look at the numbers, you parse them out, and you realize, this was not, basically no worse than the really bad flu, the influenza we had in, 60, whatever, 65, 60. Did we stop? No. Did we stop for even polio, which was really scary? I mean, I lived through the polio pandemic, and they didn't stop anything. They stopped us from going to school. They didn't stop anything. I mean, it was pretty scary. You go to school, and luckily this nun beat the crap out of me because about that was not quite Christmas yet when I was beat into, not ever coming back to that school and not really, dealing with humanity for a good year, meaning my mouth was wired shut. My eye, I couldn't see out of this eye. I could only see out of one eye. So I kept falling over. This ear was, my equilibrium, and I was a little peanut. It stunted my growth. So I learned to be very quiet and listen. I was very good at just standing there and watching through one eye, and I still do that. I close one eye, and what it forces is that both the spheres of my brain come together. And when that happens, so getting nearly beat to death by a nun actually helped me out because it got me out of that school, and then the next, kids came back for after Christmas, and I was still in the hospital. That's when polio hit that Catholic school like a ton of bricks. So there were a bunch of kids I knew who got polio, and two of them died. And that whole whoever went to that Catholic, did that Catholic church close itself down? No. Did they make people wash their hands? No. Did they wear masks? No. Did they do anything? No. So, so for us to do all of this craziness for something a little bit more than a bad flu, not that, like I said, not that it's not making people sick, that it's not killing people. It is, So, but what's truly interesting, in certain states, the opioid pandemic is really still going hot and heavy. And in a number of states, more people have died of that, of opiate overdose. Do you hear about that at all? No, because the big pharma was getting a lot of feedback, a lot of blowback from that, and now they're not. The courts are closed; they're not even being sued. So. So this is like one big fringe show, all at once. It's not just about one thing. It's like and how it's all connected. How this is all connected back to way back when the Anunnaki made us. We were made. When you look at the Bible. So anyway, kids, you need to go. I've been on almost an hour and I haven't said this. Hi, welcome to Dreamy Dreamland, and don't believe a word I say. This show is just for entertainment's sake. I should have said it back there, but I'm now saying it now. And whatever things you hear, I don't, even the things that come out of my mouth, I don't agree with. I don't believe in anything. So. Coffee hides the chemical taste of this water. That's when I know how good my water tastes. Really good, even after it comes out of a freaking hose for 400 feet or 1,000 feet. Anyway, so and I have to turn my water service, my hose system off every night because what happens is. Where the water's coming out of the ground at the spring, it's about 400 feet above where I am. And I got a piping hose, PVC, all hit together with pipe, hose clamps. And they bust all the time because the water pressure by the time it gets to me is like 8 trillion pounds per square inch, not designed for even PVC. And so it busts. And so every, 100 feet, I have a valve that I turn down a bit, but sometimes it blows it off of that. So at least 5 or 6 times a week, I have to go up and down that mountain, because you can hear it. The water's gushing out. So when I'm asleep, I turn it off at the spring part where the pressure isn't like it. So I got to climb all the way up there. That's why I built that really nice path up there. Now I can rope on either side. I got nice steps, and that's where I found that spot. That was the old homestead, right? So that's one of the things I have to do all the time is deal with my water system. So most people take all that for granted, but I have the best water, best drinking. I had it tested. Another friend of mine had been at ETSU, part of the OOHH EPA guy teaching that, and that whole section has been closed down. Because of all this, the powers that shouldn't be. They haven't changed the law. They just haven't hired anybody to run the offices of the EPA, and they put, who's that guy who's in charge of commerce? A billionaire moron. He said, well, we're putting taxes on China. It won't cost us anything. It costs China. Really? Right? Well, that was the kickoff of China's, we're going to, before, hear me say this, between now and November, there's going to be what they call an October surprise. And it's going to happen anytime, any day now, today, tomorrow, anytime between now and November. And my looking in my crystal ball, North Korea is so off the tracks. Don't even know what's going on, right? So Kim, he's either dead or in suspended animation. No one's seen him for at least since January, right? And his sister, that no one heard, they knew that she was there, but she's taken over. Kim killed his cousins and brothers and everybody who had any kind, but he thought his sister wasn't a threat. But now she's a total off the hook wacko girl. And you guys there at North Korea Central, I love you. I really do. I love her. I think she's a goddess. But you yourself, I hear you say all the time, we gotta watch out for them. So they have enough artillery pointed at South Korea's capital, Seoul, where they got 20 million people living there in luxury and great things, because they made it themselves. Whoopee. And see how good they dealt with Corona. They dealt with it like that. We could have, but that wasn't in the script. The script that Donnie does. People think he's just a moron, or that he's playing 7 levels. No, he had that TV show, The Apprentice. Who was the apprentice? He was to be president, and all he did was learn how to read the script, no matter what it said. Even when they give him a script where he reads it and he sounds like a beat poet. I mean, his few Rose Garden, things have been like, you should go, there's a website that prints all that stuff up. You should go check that out. It's like I said, it's like better than my good buddy Allen Ginsberg, the beat poet. So, and that's Donald Trump, beat poet. I'm going to write another Donald Trump, beat poet. Ooh, he's going to be in he's going to be a character. Donnie Chump, beat poet, right? Ooh, I love it when a plan comes together. So I'm writing this novel right now called Legend, and you can go read it on xratted.blogspot.com. It's right there. Just put that in, xratted.blogspot.com. It's under Riyadh Publishing, but it's not how Riyadh. I spell everything a different way, and then I forget how I spelled it, so I can never, get back into it myself. That's why I have a digital guru, so he can get into anything. So he's rewritten everything, so he has all the passwords. So he's got them up here, right? So anyway, go read that. And I'm working on Legend, and my other things, I have a bunch of short stories and a bunch of white papers and 2 other novels that I wrote and then I put on there, right? But because I wasn't using this thing. Now, this thing puts everything, it doesn't have a hard drive, puts it up on the cloud, right? And it will hold X amount, more than every time I come to the place that has Wi-Fi and everything goes online, it puts it automatically there first, right? So, I go someplace that I can get online at least once or twice a week, and as soon as I come into that environment, bingo, bango, this thing does it, right? But a couple of times I've lost stuff, so that's what it is, So, my thing I'm working on right now is called Legend. Go read it and go leave some comments because I'm now up to version 10, and I've left up there a number of different versions, right? And I did that so you could see the generation of the growth of this novel, right? I'm now at around page 70 something. And I'll probably have 200 pages when I'm done, but this is just going to be one novel in the series, right? And so, that's it. And I have to go visit the facilities. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, that's good too.
Ah. Ooh. Ah. Yeah. Well, we do that on the I'm back. So, I studied ancient Hebrew and Greek medicine, and the Greeks were really anal retentive. They invented that term. And so that's how they looked at what your body was doing. So I picked up on that. So what's really interesting, I was looking at a report out of Sloan Kettering. Sloan Kettering is a very interesting place because it's not just cancer, because cancer is not one disease. It's like the dysfunction of your whole body. So you really want to deal with cancer, you got to look at the whole thing. And it's more an electrochemical issue than a viral or a fungus or a cell or genetic or any of that. It's electrochemical. So anyway, whenever there's a physical problem in the body politic, Sloan Kettering takes a look at it. And one interesting thing they found was when polio was a real big deal, some smart guy realized the way to figure out how to deal with polio. There was no real test for it at first, and it was a little difficult because it too was quite, would pass. The local spread could be pretty bad. So this guy realized that, okay, let's go down to the septic, the poop factory where our sewers run into, and see what's coming out that pipe. And they devised a technique to measure the fecal matter and look for things going wrong. And it came out of the study for polio, to get polio trends so they could get in front of it. Anyway, back in January, actually back in the 201, Bill Gates and his buddies had this thing called Event 201. And, it was interesting how Tom Hanks put on his little notification when he was in Australia. Oh yeah, we're doing a really good job. Do what they tell you to do, like we are. They were the good poster children of the event. And part of that little thing, he said, and I'm beating my wife by 201 points, meaning a nice little tip of the hat to Bill Gates's and Mr. Rothschild's Event 201. So Smoke Henry had been looking at that, and let's see.
That's right.
Yes, this is it.
And they can hack your phone. Now, from that point on, everything in the entire history of that phone, they can instantly and immediately stop.
Yeah, anybody who got one of these and didn't think the NSA was going to be watching, listening, codifying, sticking you someplace, was pretty naive. So, some came up with, realized that the best way to look at the trends of 19 was what was coming out of the sausage pipe. And they tasked some guys, from different universities. And that's how I used to get work. Entities would come up with a question and get a hold of a guy like me to go, think about this. Go to X university. We're paying them to house you and give you resources, and you figure out a protocol. You put together a research structure, and we'll fund it through them. And they'll be happy to do that because we'll give them a lot of money, and they'll put up with you, and it'll be all fine. And they'll know that you'll only be there for a short time, so they don't have to put up with you for that long. Anyway, so I was doing my own research, and I found that the best way to look at 19, not to have somebody stick a 4-foot pipette up your nose into the back part of your brain, but just to look at the poop. Now, it can't tell whether you're sick, but it can tell who is, what part of the community, how many people in the community. So it can see it. Right now, part of the problem with this thing is that it can't see individuals, whether they're, being able to spread it before or after or during. But when you look at the pipe, you can tell who is, you can look at that and you can see before a neighborhood shows, by the people getting sick, you can see that they got it. And the way sewer systems are, you can see what neighborhood you should go start checking out, not what individual, but this neighborhood. And that's what the Koreans did.
Back to work, eh?
Hey. So, I mean, there's all, I mean, you know, they really wanted to keep an eye on this, you know, and they knew it. I mean, man, if I knew this was coming in December, you know, when I saw, because the WHO and a number of other entities were talking about this. You know, and there was the the event 201 they were talking about. I mean, they defined it exactly. So I watched what those guys put out on the internet in October. And when they put that, I said, well, this is going to be, and I'm saying, when is it going to, it's probably already happening, right? And then I started looking around, and they said, "Oh, it's going to come out." And they named it. They said it's going to be a coronavirus, and it's going to come out of Hunan, and it's going to come out of this, you know, supermarket, and it's going to be from bats. And I mean, they named it, right? But that's what SARS was, exactly the same thing. And so I was looking on in events, and I saw that in China, in just before Christmas, there was this Olympics of militaries, and all the different armies and militaries around the world came to Hunan to, you know, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, Marines. Everybody has their job, who they compete against each other, right? Like just like in the colleges, Army and Navy football game. Anyway, so between Christmas and the beginning of January, first week of second week of January, this event of about 1,200 military folk from all around the world went to this Olympic event in Hunan. And those guys who got really sick on that aircraft carrier, too, had gone to where the Navy jocks that went to this Olympics. So this is before anything started to pop. But that was like when I saw the video from Event 201, and I said, where can this get spread? And I started looking, and I stumbled across this event in Hunan between Christmas and middle of January. And they had videos of these guys in their military things, going all through Hunan and visiting neighborhoods and going to restaurants and they were having lunch, eating bat. It's like, yay. Now, I could see that, in January, and I had no idea what was really going to happen, but I was like looking at it. And then it started to pop up in China, by the mid of January. And that's when I first came across Cliff Hyde of, rational thinking or whatever, correct thinking or logically thinking. And he is a retired computer programmer that his whole career, he modeled things for DARPA, like nuclear war, chemical war, biological war. And he was pointing at this saying, this is, look what's happening in China. This is going to be planetary. This is, and he described it all. Where it came from, how it was, what you should get hold of, and what it was going to do. And he said, right off, this thing isn't going to be like a bad flu, or really bad flu, or really, really bad flu, but not, but it's going to be a biological weapon. So it's going to be around for a few years, and it's designed to destroy economies and people's wills. And he said, and he was the first guy who pointed me towards the guy in Harvard who made this chemical backbone of the virus. So, and then they took it to Canada, to one of the best biological warfare labs on the planet, and they, spliced it up. And the beginning part is AIDS, meaning you get infected, you don't show anything for a period of time. That whole period of time, you are spreading, the vector. Then you kind of get a little sick, right? And then you get better, get a little sick again, and you get, it takes longer, or you don't get sick again. But it has this process of nibbling at people who are weak and weakening them until it kills them. And it doesn't do it like that. It takes a long time because then it takes a lot of resources, right? And this is going to kill our medical system sucked to begin with. And this is so that's where we're at. So the only way to really, be down with this is to do, how ride is reiterating here. There is nothing new under the sun, although genuine, unique. No, let's see. Bridge between. No, let's see. Let's go further up here. Come on. Let's see. Ride set. And every day in every way, take a piece of the earth and make it stronger. I wonder where he heard that. Send your consciousness free will through love's co-creation, right? Because you are not your bag of water. You are not your body, As Buddha said, dying is no big deal. It's like slipping out of a tight slipper. Wisdom, the over self. Yep. Hey, it's your neighbor. Yep, my neighborhood is, like I said, it's nice. It has no black, it's can be shocked, but not inherently bad or even racist, right? So, and I've been nibbling at them for 20 years, so they're kind of like pretty let things go. So, $1.23. What time is it now? 11. It's almost noon, so I gotta go. Okay, kids, I love you. See, tomorrow I might do a live chat. Around 2:00. If I go to Boone. But my life is totally flexible. Look at this. See? Why does this one grow longer than this one? Well, maybe this. No, it's true. That was just folding up. But still, this one's shorter. Anyway, maybe I pull on this one more. I'm like one of those valley girls who twist their hair, but I do this instead. I love you, and every day and every way, take a piece of yours to make it stronger through your actions. Good thoughts bring good words, bring good actions, bring good deeds, good outcomes. Right? Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, hear our prayer, and every day and every way we take the piece of the earth, and with love's co-creation, we make it stronger. Bless us indeed, enlarge our territory, bring forth your hand upon my shoulder, and keep me from evil so I will do no harm. That's a prayer to say, right? At least for today. I'll go read some other things to say tomorrow. So I got to go do my little errands. I sat here warming up. When my butt starts to hurt, I know I have to move. So, okay. Till I see you next time, you stay well, be good. This is your Sensei Al Bob saying I love you, and I'll see you soon. And always remember, that person you meet now is just a friend that you haven't seen in a while.